10 strange and horrendous crimes that happened for no real reason. Welcome back to Creepshow, the channel where we dive into the bizarre, the macabre, and the utterly chilling. Today we have a spine-tingling episode lined up for you. Sometimes crimes happen for reasons that make our blood run cold, but today we're exploring those inexplicable acts of horror that seem to happen for no reason at all. From bizarre break-ins to gruesome murders, these are the top 10 strange and horrendous crimes that defy logic and leave us questioning humanity. Let's get started. Number 10. Deck the halls. At the beginning of 2011, a man from Dayton, Ohio, broke into a house and decorated it for the holiday season. Terry Trent, who was 44 years old at the time, was under the influence of bath salts. It is fair to say that he was a pleasant burglar. He was sitting in front of the television and playing with toys when the family's son came in and discovered him. On a sweet note, he informed the family that he would grab his belongings and go. Despite the fact that he did break into someone's home, the police still had to arrest him for burglary. Of course, the use of bath salts also contributed to his insanity. Number 9. He just had to do it. A distressing murder narrative from a long time ago contains no explanation other than the statement, "I felt like I had to do it." This serves as the sole explanation for the murder. In March of 1868, investigators discovered the body of 13-year-old John Wilkins in Somerset, England. They pounded Wilkins' head until it resembled jelly and nearly separated it from its body. Following the discovery of Wilkins's body by law enforcement, Alexander Holmes, who was only 18 years old at the time, attempted to turn himself in for the theft. The policeman, however, was not present at the police station. Instead, he informed his landlord that he had committed a murder. He told her he was surprised he hadn't killed more people. The jury declared Holmes insane, clearing him of all charges related to the murder charge. After his relatives denied him care due to his criminal behavior, they transferred Holmes to the lunatic asylum for criminals. Number 8. Jack the Ripper. Given his fame, it is unfair to include Jack the Ripper on this list. However, his inclusion on this list stems from the mystery surrounding the identity of the individual who murdered and dismembered 5 women in London during the autumn of 1888. There have been numerous hypotheses, but the two that have gained the most traction are the concepts of vengeance and the reason for his actions. It is not necessary for serial killers to have a reason to commit a crime. Many people simply kill for the purpose of killing. We believe that this is where the majority of Jack's motivation lies. Jack targeted another group of prostitutes who were easy targets. In order for him to be able to kill them, they would have brought him to a secret location. On the other hand, the retribution theory is significantly more intriguing. In 1929, matters suggested Jack was looking for the prostitute who killed his son for the first time. According to the facts, Jack was looking for the prostitute. If you were so motivated, it would be a fascinating way to humanize someone who slaughtered these ladies for no good reason. However, there is no way to uncover evidence that supports this assertion. Hence, it is not possible to find evidence that supports it. Number 7. No apparent motive. Malik Dominique Pate, who was 22 years old at the time, faced 4 charges of first-degree murder in 2021. Pat had only one victim with whom he had attended 5th grade before committing the crime. The victims had no gang or drug ties, and the shooting was not a robbery. The victims' families are also unsure of what could have led to the massacre. The shooting of these 4 victims appeared to be completely arbitrary. According to the Tacoma Police Department, multiple security cameras show Pate arriving at the shooting location, leaving the scene and wearing clothing later found in his home. Moreover, the authorities have not been able to determine the reason behind the murders of Maria Nunez, who was 42 years old, her son, Emery Ease, who was 19 years old, Nunez's brother, Raymond Williams, who was 22 years old, and Natasha Brinsfield, who was 22 years old and Williams' long-term girlfriend. Number 6. And no remorse. Being devoid of any motivation is one thing. On the other hand, when there is no remorse for the crime, it becomes even more subtle. In 2015, 2 young men committed a heinous act that became known as the Broken Arrow Massacre. in which they murdered members of their own family. Robert Bever and his brother were responsible for the deaths of 8 members of their family. Even though she had sustained injuries, their sister, who was 13 years old, and their sister, who was 2 years old, were the only members of the family to survive. Even though the murder plot extended beyond the Bever family, a dying sibling's ability to call 911 thwarted it. The Bever brothers did not express any regret for their actions, nor did they provide an explanation for their criminal behavior. Residents of the neighborhood described the Bever family as being peaceful, perhaps even too quiet. Quietness is never really a positive sign, is it? Number 5. Wife poisons her husband, son, and daughter. Why would you continue to claim innocence if you are aware that you purposely poisoned your family and that you did it yourself? Diane Stout, you are the focus of our attention. Some individuals claim that Mark, Diane's husband, died in 2012 from natural causes brought on by an unhealthy lifestyle. 5 months later, Diane's son, Sean, also passed away after experiencing symptoms similar to those of the flu. When they discovered him, they found a crimson ring of blood around his mouth. The autopsy determined that Sean's death was due to a pre-existing ailment. The authorities began to suspect that something more was going on when they took Sarah, Diane's eldest daughter, to the hospital in an emergency situation with organ failure. Sarah's blood work revealed a significant amount of ethylene glycol, a component of antifreeze. What are the reasons she chose to poison her family? She disliked Mark's guts, and Sean was a nuisance because he would get in the way. After some time had passed, the authorities found out that Rachel, Diane's daughter, was aware of what was going on and admitted to assisting her mother. According to Diane, she had a reason. How about us? No, those are not justifications. They are just excuses. Number 4, woman dies, waiting for medical attention. Which actions would you take if someone entered your hospital and slumped on the waiting room floor? Yeah, I would also assist them. It would appear, however, that the staff members working at Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn did not hold this belief. Esmond Green slumped out of her chair, fell face down on the floor, and began convulsing after she had checked into the Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn, New York, and had been waiting for treatment for a period of 24 hours. The time was 5:32 in the morning. At 6:07 in the morning, she ceased her movement. A number of patients passed by, but they did not provide any assistance. After waiting for 30 minutes, a nurse arrived, pushed her with her foot, and then called for assistance all at once. After some time had passed, the hospital attempted to fabricate medical records to make it appear as though she had only been without care for 10 minutes. Each of the 4 surveillance cameras has a unique perspective. Following a preliminary investigation, the hospital terminated the employment of 6 staff members. Number 3, Romeo and Not So Juliet. Suicide is not an unusual act, but encouraging someone you care about to take their own life is. In what ways could you motivate someone to act that way? In any case, Conrad Roy, who was 18 years old at the time, took his own life by poisoning himself with carbon monoxide in his vehicle in 2014. The jury decided that his girlfriend, Michelle Carter, who was only 17 years old at the time, was responsible for the murder because she encouraged Roy to carry out the plan. The authorities discovered a number of text messages sent by Carter to Roy. In these texts, Carter told Roy that he should stop talking about suicide and just commit suicide. Roy even made a phone call to Carter, who was intending to take his own life. In the call, Carter instructed Roy to get back into the automobile and carry out his plan. At the time, Roy was struggling with despair and anxiety, and he was also considering ending his life. If Carter's idea of supporting a loved one in their fight was this, that's fine. I suppose so. On the other hand, this practice of assisted suicide was completely unnecessary, and Roy's hesitation ought to have been an indication that he truly did not wish to pass away. Calling the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is a beneficial idea if you or someone you know is battling with thoughts of suicide. Seek assistance. You are not on your own. Number 2. I Don't Like Mondays. One of the songs that you might be familiar with is I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats. The actual shooting, which took place in 1979 at an elementary school in San Diego, served as inspiration for the song. Give me an explanation, Brenda Spencer. It was when Spencer was 16 years old that she opened fire on a playground that contained both children and adults. This is what she answered in response to a reporter's question about why she did it. I don't like Mondays. It's true that I dislike Mondays, but I don't put in as much effort as you do. With 30 shots, Spencer fired. She was responsible for 8 children's injuries, the deaths of the school principal and the janitor, Mike Sucher, who were attempting to pull youngsters to safety, and the shooting of a police officer in the neck. She spent several hours hiding in her house, but an offer of a trip to Burger King eventually convinced her to leave. In a manner that was quite appropriate, psychiatrists made an effort to discover the true motivation behind Spencer's offense. You probably already know that, as is the case with the majority of school shootings, there were significant mental health issues at play in this incident. According to what Spencer said in a radio interview, I felt like he wanted me to kill myself. Spencer's father, who raised her in poverty and bought her a gun, wanted her to commit suicide. Her school had previously advised her parents that she was suicidal, but they did not take any action in response to this information. Spencer revealed in an interview that she had spent a week drinking whiskey and ingesting PCP before the shooting that occurred on Monday morning. On that day, she was hallucinating. Spencer made this statement years after the shooting. The judge handed down her punishment, a modest 25 years to life, one day after her 18th birthday. Number 1. My Lai Massacre. Do you recall our previous discussion about crimes committed by individuals who are merely carrying out instructions? This is at least one example of such an incident. The My Lai Massacre is not one of the most proud events in the history of the United States military. It shows how humans can be brutal without justification. While serving in the 11th Infantry Brigade of the American Division during the Vietnam War, a group known as Charlie Company was responsible for the violent rape, mutilation, and murder of more than 500 individuals in the town of My Lai, which is located in the southern region of Vietnam. All of the individuals, including women, children, and the elderly, were unarmed and offered almost no threat. Before members of the general public became aware of the occurrence, the United States military hid it for a full year. This resulted in a widespread uproar. The design of the mission to My Lai was to conduct a thorough search and destroy operation. We informed Charlie Company to consider anyone they discovered to be a Viet Cong supporter. Instead of venturing into a particularly hazardous region, they discovered My Lai, which was peaceful. In order to search the locals' homes, the troops rounded them up and searched them thoroughly. Despite this, William Calley, the commander of Charlie Company, gave the order for the soldiers to fire their weapons, and he began the rounds. They fired grenades into the village, set fire to buildings, and shot civilians, including women and children who were fleeing the area. After dragging women and children into ditches, Calley allegedly carried out the executions of those individuals. Every single one of the soldiers encountered no resistance. During a reconnaissance operation, Hugh Thompson, an Army helicopter pilot, and his crew witnessed the events taking place below. He landed in the middle of Charlie Company and the remaining villagers, and he threatened to open fire on the troops if they continued their pursuit. And there you have it, folks. 10 of the most baffling and horrendous crimes committed for seemingly no reason at all. It's a grim reminder of the unpredictability of human nature. If you found this episode as chilling as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Creepshow for more deep dives into the dark and twisted corners of the world. Don't forget to ring the bell icon so you never miss an upload. And remember, stay safe, stay curious, and stay creepy.